In the hockey season of 1990-91, the BC Hockey League came to Chilliwack. And once again, this town had hockey fans. This is the story of 16 great seasons of Chilliwack Chiefs hockey, told by the people who lived it, dedicated to the volunteers and fans who made hockey history in Chilliwack, British Columbia.
We all know the Chiefs play in Surrey or Chiefs play in Vernon. There's a good couple hundred fans there, and that's because Chilliwack is a true hockey town.
Right from the start, the fans were unbelievable and became notorious in some ways, but very well respected around the hockey world.
When the old Coliseum started coming down a couple of years ago, I started digging into it a little bit, and there's some great stories out there.
This team has meant a lot to this city. It's meant bringing people together like nothing else does.
It was a wake-up call for me to see how dedicated and how committed and how badly they wanted a winner in Chilliwack.
It's just amazing how each and every spring they bring the whole community together.
In time for the 1990-91 season, the Brew family brought the team to Chilliwack.
Well, my father was approached in the summer of 1988. There was another individual that was interested in buying the Richmond Sockeyes Junior A Hockey Club and hoping to save it from folding. The other individual approached my dad, and although he didn't have hockey savvy, he had a great community consciousness as well as business savvy. He ended up buying the Richmond Sockeyes. We ran the team in Richmond for 2 years and tried to develop a strong community bind. It didn't happen after a lot of money poured into it, and we were approached by some individuals in Chilliwack. So we did take that chance in the summer of '90, moving the Sockeyes to Chilliwack, and from there on in it was a very strong marriage. We as an organization did our thing as far as being quality people and quality hockey teams, and the community of Chilliwack certainly did their part in supporting us.
The offensive output of that first-year team by guys like Joey Potskin, Bill McGilvery, Mark Gagnon, Dan Steen, it was incredible. Averaged over 6 goals a game. The second year was a little bit more defensive, but it was still an exciting time for the Chiefs. And I rarely come into this building to a Chiefs game without hearing one of the fans or more talking about those guys from that first year. Potskin, Gagnon are still names you hear a lot.
Chilliwack on the power play. Now Black over to White. Here's White on the left point. Centers it right in front of Gagnon. Shoots it. Goal! Fraser gets it to the blue line and out. Here's Potskin now trying to race away. He's being hooked from behind by Ingram. Potskin shoots, scores! That's a good goal by Potskin. He's being harassed all the way down that breakaway. Sticks to the legs, the arms, and the face. Nice little one-handed shot between the legs.
In the third year, things didn't go so well, but they rebounded quickly, and it was actually that third year's only year Chilliwack's never didn't make the playoffs.
It was the 1992-93 season when sports reporter Dale Corey came to town.
They missed the playoffs that season. Dono Menard started as head coach, and I think it was only 8 or 12, 14 games into it. I remember coming to a Chiefs practice one day, and Al Brew was standing up there, and I hadn't really met Al at that point, who is by far one of the nicest people that you could ever meet in an organization of any kind whatsoever. Standing there saying, I said, yeah, I came to talk to Dono. Oh, well, you better come and talk with me. So then he informed me that he let Dono go and brought Orland Curtin back out. Orland, of course, everybody knows, former NHL star with the Canucks and other teams. Coached the Richmond Sockeyes for Al when the team was there. They moved out to Chilliwack. Orland came back out and just could not get things going. It didn't change much for the Chiefs. There were a bunch of players that really didn't want to be here, and a few young guys that worked their tails off, but it just didn't matter. And people will remember one night in Penticton. It stands out vividly in my mind because of how bad it went and how many times I had to say he shoots, he scores in one night, which was, I don't know, I lost count, 25-26. I think they lost 24-2, 22-4, 22-3. I don't know, it was bad. However, whichever score you want to use. But I always remember getting off the bus at McDonald's after that game, and of course those veterans who didn't give a damn just wanted to get their $7 and go get their Big Mac, and there were some young players just devastated at what had just happened. The worst loss they'd ever suffered. This was junior A hockey. And Orland just kind of sitting there with his head in his hands in the front seat where the coach always sits on a bus, shaking his head, and then I could only think what he must have been thinking of. Why did I do this? Why? I mean, I played NHL hockey. I played with the best, and look at where I'm at now. Of course, Orland is a great guy working for the BCHL and does a tremendous job for them, and tried to do what he could that year with that team, and it just didn't go anywhere. The next season, Harvey Smeal came in, and the rest is pretty much history. It's been a successful franchise, never missed playoffs since then.
Back then it was just the fourth season in a row that we were starting with a new coach, so it wasn't a big news story.
But what it turned out to be was perhaps the most important thing to happen in Chilliwack Chiefs history: the hiring of Harvey Smeal.
They had not had a very good year the year prior. It was a tough go for them. They had a lot of, I think, just some organizational problems more than anything. It was a matter of getting the right group of guys together, the right mixture. It was kind of a bumpy year for us. For me personally, it was a matter of identifying who we wanted to go into the following year with, and get the character kids and the good kids, and kind of weed out the process and plug in some pieces for the upcoming season. One of the things we had identified from the year prior was goaltending was a concern for us. We didn't have great goaltending in the end in that Kelowna series, so we started with that position with getting Menard in goal that year. That was important, but I think the big player transaction of that spring was getting the deal for Nelson. He was a real character kind of kid both on and off the ice, but he certainly brought the experience, the willing to compete, the desire to win, the team unity thing. He brought it together on and off the ice. And then Krog came. He didn't have the greatest year prior because of the knee injury and Zerba and just getting the right pieces. But it started with the goaltending, and we added, Nelson, I think Chris LaRue, a bunch of those kind of kids, and good character kids. Jeff Trembecki was kind of a later fall addition to our program who put up some big numbers. Just good kids to be around. But it was the type of kids that you had that you knew when it was crunch time that this group of kids would probably do whatever it took to win, and certainly they should prove that throughout the year.
Game 6 of the 1995 series versus Kelowna and Chilliwack was a shining moment in Chiefs history.
That was an unbelievable Game 6. When the back and forth, Menard going out, Corey Deutsch going in goal. I mean, the guys, when something like that happens, there's a sense of a real sense of emergency or urgency that comes into play, and you could feel it on the bench that these guys were, they really kicked it into gear, and the shots were a lot in our favor, I believe, in that overtime. We really seemed to pepper them, but when Mike got bumped, it was a matter of, I think our guys really we're going to do, just like I mentioned earlier about that team, they would do whatever it took to win, and they really come fired up. And then when Sean York scored that goal, it was a matter of relief and excitement.
And the puck cleared to center ice. Dolak can't find it. Here comes York, 2-on-1. York and Lapierre. York shoots, goal! John York! John York! John York is fouled by his teammate. Number 23, Sean York scores a goal. Yes. The Chilliwack Chiefs force game number 7.
But right away, it was a matter of, let's capture that energy and let's close it right now because we need it for Game 7. Even going in there for Game 7, I didn't feel we had the same energy early in the game. We got down 3-1 and 3 goals to 1. But it was a matter, as that game went along, Game 7, I think we seemed to just get more energy and play better and more confident, and it was just a feeling that you knew, especially with that group of kids, that they were going to win.
After knocking out Kelowna in 7 games, the Chiefs faced Powell River in the BCJHL Finals. After taking 3 of the first 4 games, the team had a chance to wrap it up on home ice.
The series against Powell River as a whole, as I mentioned, we took nothing for granted, but it was somewhat anticlimactic. We totally expected to win that series after knocking off Kelowna. We get into the first 2 games at home and took care of business, and I think there was an anticipation that we could have and should have wrapped it up in Powell River. As it worked out, we ended up coming back to the full barn in Chilliwack, and it was a special night.
The biggest thing that I remember in that game was the atmosphere. After the game and later on, it was, the atmosphere was the big thing. That was the excitement. I mean, right from the puck drop, it was just a buzz in there constantly, and, being up 3-1. I think the fans knew, everybody knew that if we played our game, that we should win that game, and everybody was just electrical in there. And for me, it was a matter of going back, and I said earlier, just with the right group and so on, you could just feel when I first moved to Chilliwack that they just wanted to grasp on to something, and you could feel that was right there. It had happened, that they were all about the Chilliwack Chiefs. That night in particular just made the Chilliwack Chiefs what the Chilliwack Chiefs are today.
After defeating Powell River, the Chiefs went on to the Doyle Cup and were matched up against the Alberta champion Calgary Canucks. The stakes were high, but the winner headed to Ottawa for the national championships. Chiefs marketing director Barry Douglas has been associated with the team since their inaugural season.
We held that 3-1 series lead. We were feeling pretty good about ourselves, but of course went to Game 6 and went to Game 7, and Calgary prevailed and went on to the Royal Bank Cup, and it was quite a sad trip back from Calgary. But once we got back, we were able to realize that it was quite the accomplishment. That team bringing Chilliwack its first ever BCHL championship, and what a bunch of characters with Zerba and Nelson and Sandback and all those guys. What a great year of memories.